Hello, if you're new here, my name is Charlotte Ludolph, and I am the trauma-informed teacher. On this channel, I give teachers tips and tricks for balancing work life and home life, along with instructional tips. This is the third video in a series of videos on the subject of integrating reading skills into your content area subjects. As many of you are aware, if you teach a content area subject, our students are coming to us with gaps in their reading skills since they've been away on remote learning. This has always been the case with some students, but we're seeing it in greater and greater numbers. It's even more important now than it ever has been for content area teachers, meaning your science, social studies, math, your CTE courses, all teachers of all subjects, to integrate reading, writing, listening, thinking, and speaking into their regular daily lessons. You might be thinking to yourself, well, I'm not really a reading teacher. I'm not trained to do this. But the reality is, if you don't take time to learn about the importance of reading in your content area subject and include it regularly as part of your lessons, your students are not going to be able to perform the way that they should be able to with the excellent lessons that you're giving them in your subject area. This video is going to be about how you can use Padlet to further students' vocabulary understanding as they perform daily practice activities. These activities can be done as a quick transitional activity in your class, something for fast finishers, or something that you can do at the beginning and ending of each class day. The strategy that I'm talking about today is born out of the work by Robert Marzano, Katie Rogers, and Julia Sims from this book, Vocabulary for the New Science Standards. They've put out several books about vocabulary instruction in content area subjects, and this one is the one that applies to my subject area. So that's the angle that I'm going to be approaching it at. However, if you are a social studies, math teacher, CTE teacher, electives of any kind, you can also benefit from using the same strategy in your own classroom. So in Marzano's book, they talk about a 6-step process for direct vocabulary instruction. It's important that you explicitly or directly teach the vocabulary associated with your subject. The 6 steps are: number 1, provide a teacher's description, explanation, or example of the new term. Number 2, ask students to restate that description in their own words. Number 3, ask students to construct a picture, symbol, or other graphic representing the term or the phrase. Number 4, engage students periodically in activities that help them to add to their knowledge of the terms in vocabulary notebooks. Number 5, periodically ask students to discuss the terms with one another. And number 6, involve students periodically in games that allow them to play with the terms. So this particular strategy that I'm showing you today is going to really feed into number 2, number 3, and number 4, which basically is asking students to translate the teacher's definition to their own words, to find a graphic that helps them remember and illustrate the meaning of the word, and also do activities that help them deepen their understanding of the word. So it will achieve all 3 of those things. It also allows students to discuss the terms with one another because they can read what the other students have written when they go into this Padlet. So without ado, let me go ahead and show you my example. So the first thing that I want to show you here, this is a copy of a common vocabulary activity page that ELA teachers would have their students do for any words that they're introducing. You see the word goes here, the dictionary definition here, or that could be the teacher's definition. The students have to find the part of speech. They have to come up with 3 synonyms. You can also have the same type of thing where they have to come up with antonyms as well. I've seen that. And an example sentence. Then below that, the students are going to add a picture to help them remember their own definition in their own words, and then examples that they're finding in their regular text. So this is a great organizer for students to think about the in-depth meaning of a word and to relate it to things that they may already understand. so that they can make those connections that will help them retrieve the memories later on. We know that this is a research-based vocabulary strategy that has a significant impact on students. But when we're using technology, we can take it a step further because we can actually facilitate student conversation about the word to deepen their understandings. So let me show you how I would use Padlet to achieve that. I'm going to take the same concept and I'm going to go to Padlet. And here's the Padlet that I have created that will allow students to do this. If you have never seen this sort of Padlet before, this is the shelf Padlet. A teacher will go in here and add different columns for the different things that students need to fill out. The way I would use this in my classroom is maybe as an introductory lesson for a new unit. I might have the students do this vocabulary dig and assign 1 or 2 words per student, where they would go in, type the vocabulary word here. In the second column, type the dictionary definition or the teacher provided definition. Then they would have to find a part of speech, find synonyms, find antonyms, and either draw or find a picture right here. You see it says add section. If you're creating the Padlet, that's basically what you would click so that you could add another column, but we don't need another section here. This is just my example. So the great thing about this is that the students can go in and they would only spend a few minutes doing a couple of words, and then they could see all of this information that all of the students in the class had done. You really only want to teach 5 new terms per week. So if you have 20 vocabulary terms that students do not know, then that's going to be a heavy hitter unit. That's going to be at least a 4-week unit, possibly a little bit longer, so that you can teach all the new concepts. With every new concept, it's not just teaching words, but it's teaching, all of the ways that those words apply to the specific, like science or social studies or math ideas that you happen to be working with. So that's just a great way to gauge. You can really tell by your standards for your own state and your own district that you're teaching from. You can go into those standards and you can look at the new vocabulary. And by noticing the vocabulary in the standards, that's going to give you a good idea of how heavy that particular unit is going to need to be as far as how long you need to spend on it. Sometimes in your standards, you'll have units that you're really just introducing it for the next grade level as a preview concept. And other times you have standards that are the meat of your grade level. So you do need to know the difference. And that way you'll be able to gauge how many vocabulary words am I going to explicitly teach, how many am I going to hold students responsible for, and how long it will take to do that unit. I can show you a little bit more about the planning aspect of that in another video if you'd like. Just let me know in the comments if you're interested in something like that. So how do you create something like this? Well, if you have never used Padlet before, it's actually pretty easy. I do want to say a little disclaimer that if you are working with students who are 13 or younger, you do need parent permission by law in order to do Padlet. And the reason for that has to do with bullying and, just the types of interactions that can be a problem with middle school students and elementary students who are less mature. So there's a feature on here where students can go in, they can put different emojis, they can dislike students' comments, they can respond to other students' comments. Even though there's ability for the teacher to turn off some of those functions in the settings, if I click the settings, I can go down here and I can require approval for any comments. So I would have to look at that before I allow students to make a comment. I would definitely do that if you were working with younger students. And at the middle school level, it just depends on the particular group of students that you have. Sometimes you have groups that's important and other times you don't. It does take the teacher a lot more time that way, especially if you're trying to do something real time with students. But if you were having them do it, as an independent activity, and then you were going to share all of the responses with the class later, then that might be something you might be interested in doing. You can also turn off all of the reactions right here. So right now, this Padlet has no reactions. You can't star it, you can't grade, upvote it, or like it. So that prevents students from hurting each other's feelings with those types of comments and reactions. However, regardless of whether you have those on or off, Padlet has a policy just to cover themselves, that you need parent permission. And this is something that you could simply put in your new student packet and say, parents, we use a site called Padlet. This is what it's for. Please sign to give your child permission. If you have any questions, let me know. Or you could put, if you do not want your child to take part in these activities, sign here. And then if they don't sign, then you're free. So that's just something to be aware of, that you do need to make your parents aware of how you're using it, why you're using it, how it benefits your class if you have students that are 13 or younger. All right, so how do I create a new Padlet? Let me go to Padlet Home. These are all my Padlets that I have created. So here I would click to make a new Padlet. And you have different options. So you have the wall option, and you can basically see what it looks like. A stream, which is similar to like how a Facebook feed or Instagram feed, grids. And then this is the one that I used. It's called Shelf. So if you select Shelf, it starts your Padlet. It automatically gives you a generic name and a generic background. You can change this to whatever you want. So you can type in vocabulary for hydrosphere module, whatever you want. The description is just anything that you want to put in there. You could put directions in there for students, whatever you want to do. So directions, fill in the columns for the words your teacher has given you. Okay, you can use an icon if you want. An icon is just simply some sort of emoji. Let's see, if I'm doing hydrosphere, then let's see if I can find. I'm just going to type in. And it looks like you can add your own icon. So you could probably go in Emojipedia and find some. Oh, here we go. I thought I saw something just now. I'm just going to put a wave. And then you can pick your font, you can pick your color scheme, you can pick your wallpaper. So textures and patterns. I can change that if I don't like it later. Let's see what is in here in pictures anyway. Ooh, I kind of like this one actually. There we go. That's neat. All right, so after you get done with that, you come down here and you decide if the student's name has to be on there or not. You probably want the students to have their name on there, so you know someone writes something that they shouldn't be writing. New position, new post position, I like to have it last so that I can put my directions first. Comments, you decide if you want those on or off. Require approval, filter profanity, probably a good idea. And then you click next. All right, so it says start posting. All right, so a column comes up immediately. So I would type vocabulary word and save. And then students can post by clicking the plus button. Section, and then for each one, you just click a new section, you name what you want to go there, and then you can decide if you want to cancel out if you already have enough columns. So let's say that I didn't want to do just a flat out vocabulary Marzano's strategies. Let's say that I wanted to do the word etymology, which is the Latin and roots and the affixes, so prefixes and suffixes of the word. So I could put Latin root and meaning, and then I could put prefixes, and then I could put suffixes, and then at the end I could put my definition. This would be great if you wanted students to guess at what words meant. before you actually gave the teacher definition, but I would caution you to not read all of students' guesses because it could be confusing to students who have a limited vocabulary knowledge or possibly knowledge of vocabulary in another language. That could be too much information for them to process, but it would be good for the teacher to be able to see what students already thought before you had taught the new information. So you could address any misconceptions. And also when you have homophones, or homonyms, you could talk to students about, okay, well, that's one meaning of this word, but here's how we're going to use it in this subject, in this unit. So those are just a couple of ideas for how you can use Padlet to further vocabulary knowledge in your classroom. I'm sure you can come up with some more. There are so many great ones that you can find on the internet, or you can find on YouTube that other teachers have done. If you have any questions or you have other suggestions for how to use Padlet to do something to improve students' understanding of vocabulary and deepen the meaning of the words, please make sure you post in the comments. We learn from each other. I am by no means an expert. I'm just a classroom educator, just like yourself. And I'm finding out new things every single day. So I love to hear your ideas and share those with other people in our community. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe so that you can get lots more information on how to integrate reading into your content area classroom. As always, don't forget to work hard, be kind, and amazing things will happen. Bye-bye.